given the graph of the derivative of the function f defined on R, domain of the function it is the set of real numbers R, and you are given the graph of the function. Part 1, set up the table of variations of f. Set up the table of variations of f. In order to study the variations of the function, what do you have to determine? What do you have to do in order to determine or to set up the table of variations of the function? What do you need? انت عندك function and the question set up the table of variations. What do you do? شو بتحط؟
F double prime says
انت لما بتعمل table of variations increasing decreasing you find that
F prime. F prime.
والله مش انت بتحط هيدا التيبل x f prime بعدين f
F prime.
negative infinity, positive infinity, and so on. Usually, in order to find or set up the table of variations of the function, our step you find the derivative f prime of x equal blah blah blah, and then you put the derivative equal to 0. You find the roots. Yeah, find the roots. But then you put this table. Like here, the function is not given. ما عندك الفانكشن. And you don't have even the form of the function. بس كل اللي عندك اياه هو the graph. The graph of the derivative. You are given here the graph of the derivative. طيب. Moreover, when you have to find the variations of the function, you need the sign. You need the sign of f prime. Sign of the derivative. طيب ما انت عندك الجراف للدerivative. Can't you determine the sign of this derivative using this function or using this graph? Hey, how can you determine the sign of f prime from this graph? When he positive, when he
مش هون لأنه هي concave.
ايه
concave سمايلي فيس يعني هيدي positive.
من هي البوزيتيف؟
function f prime.
لا لا أول شيء when you are given a graph of a certain function, when you are given a graph of a certain function, right? عندك graph ل function, and you need to determine the sign of the function, whether it is positive or negative. بيهمك شيء زي concave up ولا concave down ولا شو بعرفني شو.
بس بقول يعني من نيجاتيف 3 ل 0 أو يعني 0 مفتوحة تكون هيدي نيجاتيف من الزيرو يطلع لها بوزيتيف.
نعم. طب ليك خلينا ناخذ function أبسط من هيك. Let's say here we have 2 and you are given the graph of this function f. How can you determine the sign of f?
استاذ تحت ال 2 نيجاتيف فوق ال 2 بوزيتيف.
If x is less than 2, then f of x is negative. If x is greater than 2, then f of x is positive. مظبوط الحكي؟ If x is less than 2, f of x is negative and the graph below the x-axis. When x is greater than 2, the function is above the x-axis, so f of x is positive. صح؟ طيب. Above the x-axis or below the x-axis مش concave up ولا concave down ما لهاش طعم. طيب. Using this, how can you determine the sign of f prime? How can you determine the sign of f prime? هاي الجراف عندك اياه. Look here. At negative 1 and 1, the function is 0. F prime of x equals 0. F prime of x equals 0. Then x is equal to positive negative 1 هو مش عم بخترعه من عندي من الجراف لك وين intersection. If x is between negative 1 and 1, x between negative 1 and 1, x belongs to the open interval negative 1 1, f prime of x is negative. ليه؟ لأنه الفانكشن هي below the x-axis. If x is less than negative 1 or greater than 1, يعني x belongs to negative infinity, negative 1, union, 1 positive infinity, f prime of x is positive لأن الجراف هي above the x-axis. You are on the graph of f is below x-axis. Here, the graph of f prime is above the x-axis. يعني, to set up the table of variations of the function, x, f prime, f, the roots of f prime are positive, negative 1, like when negative 1, 1, negative 1, 1. When x is outside these roots, less than negative 1 or greater than 1, the derivative is positive. So here positive, positive. Between the roots here, the derivative is negative. So the function is increasing, decreasing, increasing. Here are the variations of the function. Here we have maximum, but I don't know this maximum. أنا كل اللي بعرفه من الجراف هي هيك. ده شو هي الفاليو I don't know. هي المينيموم I don't know. Increases to what كمان ما بعرف. Starting from what ما بعرف. Maybe here starts from negative infinity. Maybe starts from a horizontal asymptote. ممكن الجراف تكون هيك. Starts from the horizontal increasing بعدين decreasing and then increasing to the horizontal. شو بعرفني؟
نجيب limits يعني.
Starts from negative infinity to maximum, then decreases and then increases to a positive infinity. We don't know. We don't know because here we don't have any information about the function. I can't tell. Okay. What I can say here that the function is increasing, then decreasing, then increasing. That's it. Only. The values, I can't determine the values. Increases from which value? I don't know. The value of the maximum, I don't know. The minimum and limit at the negative, at positive infinity, I don't know. We don't have any information about the function. Part 2. كتبتوا شيء رواد؟
لك بدنا نجيب limits.
مزبوط بس ما أنا ما عندي الفانكشن ولا عندي أي information. So ما فينا نحكي شيء. طيب. Part 2. Part 2 you have to find or to study the concavity. Study the concavity of the function. طيب. Concavity. شو يعني؟ ساين لمين؟
FW prime.
It means you have to study the sign of FW prime. Study the sign of FW prime. طيب عاد. وكمان كل اللي عندي اياه هو الجراف لهيدي الاف برايم. طيب. نرجع لشغله. The function f is increasing if the function is differential. Yeah? If the function f is increasing, then what will be the sign of the derivative?
Positive.
Yes. If a function is increasing, then what can you say about the sign of the derivative?
Positive. Was decreasing.
بيكون derivative negative. طيب عاد وهون بدك تفهم شغله وتركز على شغله انه خيي انت عندك function increasing الديريفاتيف لهذا الفانكشن will be positive. A function is increasing يعني خلينا نكتبهم هيك by words. Function increasing it means that its derivative is positive. Right. If f prime is increasing, then what can you say?
يعني ال f double prime كمان positive.
Then f w prime is positive. Then f w prime is positive. Its derivative. The derivative of f prime is f w prime. The derivative of f prime is f w prime. And when f prime is decreasing, then its derivative, which is f w prime, will be negative. Function decreasing, then its derivative is negative. The derivative of f prime is f w prime. كتير منيح. وأنا كل اللي بدي إياه هو هيك. The sign of f w prime. So in order to determine the sign of f w prime, enough to determine the variations of f prime. In order to determine the sign of f w prime, enough to determine the variations of f prime. وانت عندك ال variations لل f prime. عندك الجراف لل. So فإذا هون هرجع اكتبهم لنوضح الفكرة. So to study the concavity of f, it means study the sign of f w prime. طيب. Note f prime is increasing, it means that f w prime is positive, and f prime is decreasing, then it's equivalent to say that f w prime is negative. So to determine the sign, or to study the sign of f w prime, study the variations of f. In order to study the sign of f w prime, enough to study the variations of f prime. Okay? Variations of f prime determines the sign of f w prime. خلينا نشوف هيدي. What can you say about the variations of f prime? The variations of the derivative. شو كيف طالع معنا ال variations? The variations, increasing, decreasing. Yes. What can you say about the variations of this function, of the derivative?
This is the decreasing عامل جت.
Would you please repeat? الصوت ما كان كتير واضح.
أول شيء عملت decreasing للنيجاتيف 3 جت طلعت جت عملت increasing.
طيب decreasing on which interval?
negative infinity 0.
Negative infinity 0. Here, f prime is decreasing on negative infinity 0. F prime is decreasing here from negative infinity to 0 on the interval, I mean negative infinity 0. And then increasing on the interval 0 infinity. So here I can say f prime is increasing on the خلينا نبلش بأول وحدة decreasing on negative infinity 0. And f prime is increasing on 0 infinity. It means here that f double prime is negative on the interval negative infinity 0. And f double prime is positive on the interval 0 positive infinity. طيب what about at 0? مش هون عندنا minimum and the function is differentiable. هيك وين هاي المينيموم. This is differentiable. يعني f double prime at 0 equal to 0. قلت لكم اياها مره رح نرجع نحل عليها exercise كمان. And when the function when we have maximum or minimum معناتها second derivative بيكون 0. Okay. Here we have minimum at 0, f double prime at 0 equal to 0. F double prime at 0 equal to 0. Okay. And here, and f double prime at 0 equal to 0. Then, since f prime has minimum at 0. طيب. So to determine the concavity, x, f double prime, f, here we have 0. When x is less than 0, second derivative is negative, and here it is positive. So concave down, concave up. And we have inflection point at 0, but real value I don't know. F of 0, ما بعرف. We don't have any information about the function.
بس شغلة
نعم.
الفاليو تبع المينيموم دبل برايم تبعها بتكون 0 يعني ما خاص إذا كانت على البوينت.
Like دايما على الماكسيموم والمينيموم إذا أنت عندك function على الماكسيموم derivative بيكون 0. وعلى المينيموم طبعا إذا كانت الفانكشن differentiable يعني the curve is smooth. وهون كمان derivative 0. دايما على الماكسيموم والمينيموم if the function is differentiable or if the curve is smooth then the derivative is 0. أنت عندك هون
ماشي.
the graph of the derivative, the graph of f prime, we have minimum at -3. Then the derivative of f prime, which is f double prime, is 0 at x equals 0. Right. Now the third part and the last one. Here you are given the expression of the function. They said, given that f of x it is ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. F of x, it is ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. Okay, type. And they said, as the graph passes through the point A, 2, 3. The graph passes through the point A of coordinates 2, 3 belongs to the curve of the function. The question, find the values of A, B, C, and D. Then graph C, نشوف كيف نعمل graph. طيب, you have to find A, B, C, and D. طيب, A, B, C, and D, it means that we have 4 unknowns here. So you need 4 information. You have to write 4 information. Right. The first one, given the point on the curve, so f of 2 is equal to 3. F of 2 is equal to 3. هاي أول واحدة. طيب. 2, from the curve of f prime. أول شيء عندنا f prime of negative 1 equal 0 و f prime of 1 equal 0. وشو بعد في عندنا؟ f prime of 1 equal 0. هذه تاني واحدة. f prime of negative 1 كمان 0. بعد فيه شو بعد في عندنا؟
على النيجاتيف 3 بتطلع
f of 0 equal negative 3. sorry f prime of 0 equal negative 3. هاي 4. هلا عفوا ممكن يكون في عندك مثلا اثنين منهم هن equivalent فبتفتش على وحده خامسه. كيف يعني equivalent؟ والله انه هاي وهاي عطوك نفس النتيجه. مثلا انه هيدي وهاي نفس النتيجه. انت بتفتش على وحده ثانيه بعد. الان في عندنا بعد وحده ثانيه. في عندنا الاف دبل برايم at 0 equal 0. هيدي. هاي. بس هلا هودي بكفي. طيب الاف برايم find the derivative. f prime of x 3ax squared plus 2bx plus c. أول شيء بلش بالزيرو أسهل شيء. f prime of 0 equal negative 3. This means that 3a times 0 squared plus 2b times 0 plus c is equal to negative 3. This means that c is equal to negative 3. هاي طلعت أول وحدة. هلا بتيجي بتسألني قلت لي أستاذ إنه شو عرفنا إنه لازم نبلش ب f prime of 0؟ ما فيش شو عرفنا وما في order معين. إنه you can start by f of 2 is equal to 3 and then you write an equation. and then continue f prime you have to find the derivative replace كل وحده منهم. مش مهم. مش مهم انت بعدين رح تلاحظ انه خي هاي اول وحده بتفيدك. يعني اذا واحد بلش هيك خي ما انتبه شو اي اوردر بده يمشي فيهم. f of 2 is equal to 3 replace x by 2 then you'll get 8a plus 4b plus 2c plus d is equal to negative or is equal to 3. اوكي هاي اول وحده. تقدر تطلع شي وحده منهم؟ لا عادي. derivative f prime of 1 here is f prime of x بعدين بلش 3a times 1 squared so 3a plus 2b plus c is equal to 0. okay كمان this is the second equation and so on. بعدين هو بيختار اي وحده منهم بده يبلش. f prime of negative 1 you'll get 3a minus 2b plus c equals 0. كمان ما قدر يطلع شيء. اخر وحده f prime of 0 equal negative 3 is going to write 0 c is equal to negative 3. then replace بهاي replace بهاي replace بهاي بيطلعوا لحاله. اوكي فمش الواحد اللي يستوهم شو عرفنا لازم نبلش باخر وحده وشو عرفنا لا عادي انت بتكتب هودي and then you find a b c and d. طيب so now c is equal negative 3 you can replace c by negative 3. if you start now f prime of 1 equal 0 this means that 3a times 1 squared 2b times 1 plus c which is negative 3 equals 0. This means that 3a plus 2b is equal to 3. Now f prime of negative 1 equals 0. 3a times negative 1 squared plus 2b times negative 1 minus a 3 equals 0 and so 3a minus 2b is equal to 3. Right. Here we got a system of two equations, two unknowns. System of two equations, two unknowns. You can use the calculator to find a and b. عادي دغري. Or simply you can add. If you add, you get 6a. 2b minus 2b راح 0. And 3 plus 3 equals 6. Then 6a equals 6 and so a is equal to 1. You replace a by 1, you get b equals 0. And as I told you, you can use the calculator mod 5-1, find ab. And we still have to find d. ما عشان غير أول وحدة. f of 2 is equal to 3. f of 2 is equal to 3. This means that replace a times 2 power 3 plus b times 2 squared plus c times 2 plus d is equal to 3. Replace a, b, and c by their values. A is 1, so 1 times 8. B is 0, 0 times 4. C, it is negative 3, so minus 3 times 2. Plus d is equal to 3, and then d is equal to 1. Therefore, f of x, it is x power 3 minus 3x plus 1. هلا هون in part on the second part draw the curve of C. صارت شغلة بسيطة. ليه؟ Now you have the function. Already have the table of variations of the function, table of concavity. Well, I have the function, I can find the maximum, I can find the minimum, I can find the limit at infinity and negative infinity. I can find the inflection point. صفيت طلعهم كلهم. ما عندي مشكلة بقى. Already found the derivative. Table of variations, x, f prime and f, negative 1, 1, 0. No need to repeat. F of 1, find f of 1 to find the maximum. From me, the minimum is negative 1, f of negative 1. F of negative 1, replace, you get 3. 3. Limit at positive infinity. It is the limit of x power 3, which is positive infinity. You write here positive infinity. And limit as x approaches negative infinity. The same idea. It is the limit of x power 3, the highest exponent, which is negative infinity. Negative infinity. The maximum has coordinates negative 1, 3. The minimum has coordinates 1, negative 1. The same idea for the table of concavity. X, f double prime, and f. We had 0. كان عندنا إياها هيك. Negative, positive, concave down, concave up. F of 0, replace x by 0, it is 1. So the inflection point will be 0, 1. Now you can draw the graph of the function. Okay. Any questions?